How do we as men handle this situation when we're meant to have a conversation and you drag me through the mud verbally? What are we supposed to do?
I don't think any, well, for me personally, I don't think I said or feel as though Blake was manipulative in that conversation. I think he handled it really well. I think that that was the best reaction because, like I said, the more that he kept quiet and the more he didn't respond, the more she kind of unraveled and showed herself, right? However, I feel like what I am picking up from Blake from that interaction was the fact that he's very matter of fact. Okay, there's minimal emotion in how he communicates, and that's again could be it could be different things. His military background, and again, I'm not saying he's on the spectrum, but he kind of presents that way, like he is a bit on the spectrum. So he did apologize again, which was a good thing. Like she obviously was coming for smoke, so she didn't even acknowledge that. So I don't think he handled that particular situation wrong, but I do think that the things that he's been accused of saying, he definitely did say. Whether or not he meant it in a malicious way or not, or that's just how he communicates in a very matter of fact way. In that what he thinks is how he says, and he just doesn't package it up in in a very nice way. That's where my issue is with Blake. In that if you're not able to be with somebody who's that cutthroat and who's that matter of fact and who kind of struggles with showing the emotion, I think in this situation that was an advantage. That was a great thing. But I think in a relationship, being with somebody who struggles to be emotional is not the best kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I think anyway.
I mean, I did mention that I thought he handled it well. I don't know if you remembered, Kojo. I did say that he handled it well. But I also believe that he said what he said. But that's because, as in the context of the panel, we're talking about the entire show, and sometimes we're trying to make connection on why she may have reacted the way she have reacted. But and I even said that, as I think I said like 3 times, I want to see the Blake they're talking about, because if I have to base myself at what I see on TV, it's getting difficult for me to be negative about Blake when all he's showing me is self-control. That's why I keep on saying that, but maybe I'm not expressing myself well. And one thing I wanted to respond to Lauren, um, something that Lauren said, um, I like the point that you made when it comes to Blake. But one thing I've learned as a very blunt person is that when you blunt, is your like, do you care about being direct, or do you care about making yourself heard in a healthy way? Because the problem with too much bluntness, as somebody that's been known to be very blunt when I was younger, sometimes you hurt people. Sometimes you hurt. So it's good to be direct and honest, but if the goal is going to be to, if you're going to end up making somebody feel bad, is it worth it to be blunt? But I get you.
But by the way, I wasn't saying you guys per se, panelists or anything. I'm more saying what do we do in that moment? Because as men, right, you start railing on me, and I go, all right, cool. Then you still labeling me manipulative in that moment for being cool. So I'm saying, do I talk up, or do I be cool? And when I was going to address the issue that you wanted me to address, you started railing on me. So I couldn't address the issue. So how I'm not, again, we all agree on this panel that Blake ain't great. I think we can all agree that Blake's got some tendencies that are nobody want to be really dating, you know what I mean? Am I gonna hand my sister to him? No, you know what I mean? But what I'm asking here in this instance is, what do we do in this moment though? If you rail on me like that, and you come at me like that, and you still talk to me after, running your mouth still, even when I'm getting up and I'm said have good luck, and you're still saying negative things to me, At what point do we call her out for the trueness of what that behavior was? And I said, I didn't say she's an abuser. I said it was abusive. It was verbally abusive. It was grotesque in the way she handled the situation. You know what I mean? And at what point at what point do we say, no, this is a great way to handle it? And some of you did. I'm not saying that you did it. I'm saying it's a great way to handle it. And then it's now manipulative, because I did hear the word once or two times that this behavior is manipulative, that he's calm and he's being manipulative about it. But how do you want him to handle it? That's the question I'm asking. How do you want me to handle it in that moment? Because what it's given right now is that men lose either way. I don't
If
say anything, you're manipulative. You say something, you're a sassy nigga. It's like, yo, I can't win. Sorry, who was gonna talk? My bad. Go
yeah,
jump
I,
in.
I
Apologies.
want to clarify. If this is how Blake handles everything behind the camera, in front of the camera, in real life, in private, in public, then there's nothing wrong with the way he handled it. He diffused the situation, he got up and he left. There's nothing wrong with the way he handled the situation. So to answer your question, this is the way a man should handle conflict with a woman. The way he handled it is textbook of how a man should handle conflict with a woman. And I think all the women are saying there's nothing wrong with the way he handled it. Where the idea of him being manipulative and problematic comes is if he's poking the bear, saying nasty things on the side. You see the nasty thing that he said in the men's lounge, and then when he gets a reaction, albeit abusive, aggressive, whatever you want to call it, then he's being calm, cool, and collected. That is actually the problem, because you're not acknowledging how we even got to this place. But, like Sam said, like I'm going to say, we have no proof of what he's done. All we know is how people are reacting to him. And the problem is that the people who are reacting to him are also showing issues in their own lives. Like Morgan, the way she's talking to Tony, very disrespectful. I think the best display of abusive behavior is not even in this conversation. Is mostly with her, the way she talks to Tony is aggressive, ridiculous. Tony hasn't done anything to kind of really cause for some of the behavior that Morgan shows. And then we have Jeffrey. So the problem is that the people who are calling out Blake are also, some could call, a bit problematic in their own way. So we don't know. I'm just saying, I hope that Blake is not poking the bear, being nasty, being ridiculous, being underhanded, and then when he's getting on TV, acting like he's a saint. That's all I'm saying. But the way he conducted himself is the best way that a man should conduct himself, because you do not win, as you indicated, Kojo, by yelling, screaming, going toe to toe with a woman, or by being catty or nasty. You're going to lose every time. So the best way that he could have handled it is the way he handled it, just to be clear.
But he's still lost now, though. That's the point I'm making. If he's still getting called manipulative, he's still lost.
No,
I think that's the point I'm driving.
he's not being called manipulative for the way he handled the conversation. He's being called manipulative from the few things that I have seen. And I'm not calling him manipulative. I'm saying he could
Okay.
be, because of what I personally saw with his comment in the men's lounge. As a woman, and you're shaking your head, I'm not sure at what, but as a woman, that little comment that he said in the men's lounge about she wants to have a baby at all costs. Maybe that didn't mean anything to you guys, but it definitely meant something to me. That indicated that he said more, because that was completely unnecessary. And the women are shaking their head, because we know what that means. When a man says something like that, that was completely unneeded and unnecessary. If you didn't want to have a baby with Morgan and you don't want no more kids, then take you and your 3 kids that you seem like you don't want and keep it pushing. But why are you making that type of comment in the men's lounge?
So how would that comment mean anything to Morgan when she never heard it?
No, that comment doesn't mean anything to Morgan. That comment is giving context to why he could or could not be manipulative. That comment gives credence to Morgan's frustration with his earlier statements to her about her having children or not wanting children, and her being delusional about wanting children at her age. That
But
comment,
we know he said that though. I mean, he didn't deny he didn't say that. That was never a denial that he didn't say that, you know, that he said 80% or whatever. That was never in contest. What I'm saying is though, once again, he's handled situation, because the thing I'm driving home is here again. You're saying about he said this thing in the men's lounge, so he definitely said it, but we know he already said that. Once he started talking to her, he actually apologized for how she made him feel. Now he didn't. Now he asked for clarity on what did he actually say, so they can discuss it. She never got round to all the way for him to respond to that point. Because when he did get to respond to it, as he was responding, she cut him off to give him the woo-ha. And I'm saying again, if we're going to call him manipulative, how? He was about to address the issue and didn't get a chance to address it. So where's the manipulative aspect of this situation? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm asking again. I'm not saying that he's, again, we agree he's not great, but I feel like we're doing this thing again where however we feel about the situation, we kind of throw it in there. The situation between him and Morgan, where's a manipulative part in there? She spoke about the very first day they had a conversation. She wanted to address the conversation with him. He started addressing it and got cut off and then called names in between that time. And that's why I said that's because when we first started the conversation, there was none of this, you know, he was great the way he handled it. I'm not saying everyone didn't say that. Some people did, but I'm just saying it's great how he handled it. That's not how we was going on. We weren't going on like, you know, Break was great for handling it. No, it was more like, you know what, he handled that way, but, you know, and there's a caveat in there. But, you know, it's maybe because, you know, he's being manipulative because, you know, he's kind of like his role. So he wants to make her look bad. It's like, wait. So how do we handle it? That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Like, I think that point, but maybe when the guys maybe say something and then maybe I've overshot it a little bit and see where you respond. And sorry, Latoya wants to go as well. Sorry. Okay, JR go first, and then Latoya, and then Seaway. Go for it.
Yeah, there is no way to handle it other than to not rise up and meet her where she was in the public setting like that. Because, like I said before, she came in with the specific intention to try and go at him. And if he had done a Zoe and flipped out, then all hell would have broken loose in the comments and on the internet and on the socials and all of that. The fact that he was quite matter of fact and just said, okay, well, you know what? I heard what you said. Move on to your connections. I'm going my way. That's the same thing he said to Jeffrey when he pulled her to the side. Now, let's be real. Like, the energy that she came with was designed to get a reaction from him. And I think that's an attempt to get him kicked from the show because she said she doesn't think he should be there. She doesn't like him, malignant cancer and all these other different things she said. So she was trying to get him a rise out of him, knowing that it would look bad. So that's manipulation as well. So that's another case of manipulation that I've seen from Morgan in this particular episode, right? Blake may have said what he said. And unfortunately, if it triggered her, okay, tell him what it was. Just like they were trying to encourage Blake to tell Sue-Ann what specifically it was that was said, Morgan could have specifically said what had upset her and that she's been holding on for the last 7 weeks. But she didn't do that. She chose to keep going at his neck like that. So I don't think there is a right way that he could have handled it. He was damned if he did, damned if he doesn't. I don't like Blake because I think he's got too much going on to even be considered to be on this show, to be honest. Like, it's a lot to handle with the situation that he brings to the table. All right. So I'm not an advocate for Blake at all. But what I'm saying is, if you don't like someone, right, rather than tearing strips off them, right, like, you have to understand that not everybody's going to rise to it. Not everybody's going to react to it. And if that further makes you angry and makes you mad, then that's a you problem. And in this case, I'm talking about Morgan. It's a her problem. She tried it. It didn't work. She made herself look like she was the one that was not in control. She was unapologetic. She doesn't care. So there is nothing that he could have done to appease her in that situation. Diffuse the situation. It wasn't diffused. She still was running her mouth when he was getting up to leave. She had animosity from the start all the way through to the end, and it's not going to change. Like, she just doesn't like the brother, and that's cool. But why are you wasting so much energy on someone you don't like? I think she was genuinely hurt by the rejection or sense of rejection that she felt when they first met. You know, I think she is used to guys pursuing her, or she has this notion that guys must pursue queens or whatever she said, right? And the fact that he didn't, that automatically put him in the firing line. And then when she heard about what Jeffrey said in the ladies' lounge, that again added more fuel to the fire. And she's even made comments about Suan as well. She doesn't understand why Suan even likes Blake. It's not your business to know why. You're supposed to be focusing on your connections with Tony and with Lyndon, supposedly. And so, yeah, I don't think Blake could have done anything to calm that down. I don't even think she could even control herself. Otherwise, she would have. That's not what she wanted to do. She was fully cognitive, fully aware. She wasn't intoxicated. There was no excuse that she could possibly bring. She knew what she was doing. She wanted to take him down and finally get him out of there, because he keeps on surviving week after week. And she made a comment about that too. She wants to get him out of there. That's all it was. That's not a date. It's just purely point score and get him out of there, get a rise out of him, and she couldn't do it.
Latoya want to say something, and then Siwe?
Yeah, so I think that nobody has to sit and be verbally accosted, male, female, whatever. I think because of the dynamics, men have to be a little bit more self-aware in those situations, and you have to know your limits. Some people have a very short fuse in terms of what can be said to them. I think Blake is someone who knows that he can sit and bear a lot and not react. He can kind of zone out and stay in that place. If you're a man who knows that being verbally talked to in that way would trigger you and may escalate the situation, and you have a, you know where your comfortability with being talked to in a certain tone, what I would suggest, say, you don't have the right to talk to me this way. I'm leaving. Leave her where she is. You don't, I like Iyanla, you don't get to talk to me like that. Now, I wouldn't raise my voice. I wouldn't get theatrical, because then it's going to look like a power situation. But you excuse yourself from the situation. I have a 17-year-old son. I tell him, if a girl is getting rah, either verbally or getting a little bit too close, you have a right to excuse yourself from the situation. But we all know what we can take verbally. Some people can take a verbal lashing and can sit there and it not really affect them. I think that Blake knows where he stands. He sat and he got talked to by Jeffrey in a way, and he just sat there. He got talked to by Cynthia in a way that was firm and direct, and he sat there. I think that over time, over his life, for 44 years, however, he knows what his limits are verbally. So he can sit there comfortably and say, yeah, are you finished? He even said, are you finished? I mean, he got his little piece in, his little light jab. Are you finished? Are you done? That's how he got, his little piece. But it was an exposure play. I'm going to sit here and let you talk. And the more you talk, you expose yourself. So you think you're winning the war. You just won the battle, but you just played yourself. And now everybody is going to see this part of you. So I think sometimes people play chess and not checkers. And I think whether it's sociopathic, narcissistic, he knows where his levels are when dealing with women, and he knows how to sit in it for a while. You have to know your limits as a man, as a woman, because you can't talk to me a certain way with a certain tone. Know where you are and then govern yourself accordingly. Move out of that situation when you're to your personal limit.
Toya, see where you go for it. See where you there?
Hey, I'm sorry. I feel like
That's
I
all right, babe.
forgot my point.
That's okay.
It'll probably come back to me if y'all keep talking, but
Cool. Sean, did you have something to say?
No, I think we've dragged the proverbial, hell out of this conversation. So
That's Sean way saying he don't want to tussle tonight. Basically, that's what he's trying to say. He don't want to tussle.
Sean's being very unproblematic. Let's just let him be.
As for me, I could be problematic tonight. I can be. So, if you want to say something, no, Lorraine, you want to say something again?
Yeah, I think like what Latoya was saying about when I mentioned about Anthony and his Matt, how that was derogatory. I think the same thing here with Morgan. She didn't articulate herself in a way to articulate how she was feeling. She was calling him names, and it just wasn't necessary. You could have just said, "This is how you've made me feel," or "I don't appreciate when you do this." Sometimes people don't know how to explain how they feel or explain what somebody has actually done to upset them. Instead, they just insult them. So her calling him a cancer was just absolutely rude and inappropriate. So it's the same thing here, that she does have to be held to the fire in that situation, and he held himself well. However, he has an unfair advantage in this whole situation, to not be triggered, to hold his cool, to have that composure because of his background. And like I mentioned before, he won this argument. If there was going to be a clear winner, he won this argument because Morgan just kept on showing herself and showing herself. And I think that what she needed from him, he just could not provide that. She just needed that validation that, okay, I hear you, I'm sorry. She just needed that emotional security, that blanket. And he's just not the person to do that because he's not able to do that. So when I was saying that he's very harsh and direct, I don't even think it's intentional. I honestly don't. I honestly don't think he's intentional. I think that's just who he is. He's just a very direct and cutthroat person, and it's then interpreted in a certain way. So whereas she needed to be covered and to be protected emotionally, and because he wasn't providing that, she just kept on going and going and going and just could not let go. And I feel like that's just the kind of person that she is. Yeah.